Hello explorers and welcome to another video. Today we are going to look into upgrading your Ceph cluster using an automatic process called Ceph Admin. You're using the Ceph Admin command and making the cluster upgrade itself. So if you don't really care, or if you are not really worried that something can go wrong, this might be a good solution. I have not done it myself yet, so I don't know how really it works and if it's a safe process to go through or if this is a preferred way. But the new version of Ceph is now released, the Pacific one, and they talked about in the release notes for that a good way to upgrade to it is to use the Ceph Admin. So I wanted to try that method out and see how it actually works. And in order to do this, you first off need to install the Ceph Admin on all your hosts. And if we switch over to my code window here, we can first off look a little bit at the cluster. So here we have my little cluster. I have 2 monitors, I have 3 OSDs, and I have 3 metadata servers. So it's a largely cluster, but it's just a test cluster. So I've cloned up my normal cluster, started it up, and is ready to do some work with this. So if we go to the command prompt here, I have a client, and on this client I have Ansible, and I installed the full Ceph cluster using Ansible. So now I'm gonna install Ceph Admin instead, and to make it easy for myself, I will install it using Ansible because it's a lot of hosts to go through. So this little script here, Ceph Admin, will go through all hosts, will become root, and the task is to install sudo. I didn't really change this file fully, I see that. So just for the documentation, I will change this up to Ceph Admin here, and it will check that in the ATP command that the Ceph Admin package is present. So let's do Ansible playbook, Ceph Admin. We want to become, and we want to supply the password. So let's see here, we supply the password, and hopefully this will install the Ceph Admin on all the hosts. And I have done a little bit of different things here, so some of the hosts are actually not present at the moment, and I might remove those from my. So I have node 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I've added a bunch of nodes, but I think we will get Ceph Admin on all the hosts that actually requires it. And even on this client, we will have the Ceph Admin. What we need to do after this is to prepare each host so it's ready for the installation. So for instance, if we want to prepare this host that I'm on now, we run Ceph Admin prepare host, and Ceph Admin was not available. Okay, so it's sudo command prepare host. Let's see if this works. Yeah, need to do the right, and it verified and prepared it. Host looks okay, and let's check it. It doesn't say anything about this host, probably because this is not really a part of the cluster. So let's go to a host that is a part of the cluster. We have the monitor 1. Let's do the same here. Ceph Admin prepare host. So that should prepare. Typing the right password is hard. Ceph Admin. Let's see here. So here we see that we have the monitor. We have 2 different services on this machine. It's a manager and a monitor. Both of in style legacy, and that is what we want to see. We want to see that they are running with the legacy version, because that means that we haven't migrated them to using Ceph Admin yet. So I will continue doing this for all my hosts here, preparing them and checking that they are actually a part of my cluster. There we go. I have gone through all of the different hosts and run this command on each of them. And that seemed to work just fine. You see here that the last one was a legacy OSD. What we want to do now is to assimilate all the configuration files. And this is a step that also needs to be done on multiple hosts in my case. Perhaps you have the same configuration file on all your hosts, and then you only need to do this once. But I have different configuration on each host, or not on each host, but I believe at least the monitors might have different configuration. The OSDs probably has its configuration, and the MDSs probably have a different configuration as well. I've gone through and looked a little bit around what kind of parameters are set. So let's go into the monitor first here, and then we will run this command, ceph config assimilate config, with the input of the configuration file. Let's see if we are able to do that with with root. We are able to do that. So now we have prepared that configuration file into our cluster. Let's do the same here. Prepared that one as well. You see that there is a little bit of a difference here, and it's mostly around this radios service. And then we want one OSD, so the configuration from this OSD should be the same as the other OSDs, probably. So okay, so the OSD is not something that I can do. At least not OSD1. Let's see if I can do that from OSD2. No, permission denied. So let's see, MDS. I'm gonna do it there. Nope. Error connecting to the cluster. So that's interesting. Let's do it like this then. Let's make a directory called MDS and a directory called OSD, and we will take the MDS and take the configuration file and put that in the directory MDS. And do the same for the OSD. And let's try it like this. Put that in there. And OSD, put that configuration in there. So now I have all the different configuration parameters from each of the ones assimilated into the cluster. And if we do a ceph config dump, so this is the full configuration that has been put into the memory here, so we know what cluster network we have, allow pool, delete, and so on. So there is a couple of different things here that is common throughout my configuration here. So first off, we will need to do an adoption of all the monitors. So let's go to the monitor here, and then I will run the command sudo ceph admin adopt style legacy name mon think this is monitor 1. Oh, mon 1. Let's see. So you use the host name as the host for what you want to adopt. So let's see here. It's pulling a container image from Docker. So this means that our new configurations will be running in a Docker environment on each host. So the earlier ones were system services directly in Debian. This seems to be Docker based instead. So it's stopping the old monitor, and that should be visible in our monitor here. And then we see that it created new, moved the data and creating new units. So it seems to be running now, the monitor. So let's go into monitor 2 here and do the same thing with this one. Just say monitor 2, like that. So now we have adopted both the monitors. So now we will go back to the monitor service number 2 again here. And if we look at the sudo Ceph Admin ls again, we should now see that one of the services is ported from a legacy version to something controlled by Ceph Admin instead. So here we have the monitor 1, but we still have the manager as a legacy service. So that's the next part we need to do. So let's adopt that one as well. Let's see here, Ceph Admin manager, and this is on monitor 1. Yeah, so we need to use sudo on that one as well. And we will pull down the Docker image again and move that over. Let's do an ls again and see that both of the services has now been taken over by this Ceph Admin instead. So let's do the same thing on monitor 2. Again, sudo. There, that switched over as well. Do an ls, and we see that both services on monitor 2 is also enabled. And if we switch over to our overview here, we see that the health status of the cluster is still okay. Now, we need to enable the Ceph Admin module inside of our manager. So let's do sudo, or can I just run Seth? Yep, I can do that. Seth manager module enable Ceph Admin. So that will enable the Ceph Admin module. Then we run Ceph orchestrator set backend Ceph Admin. So we will say what the orchestrator should do with the Ceph Admin. So let's see here. We got an unknown error here. So here we see that we have 10 stray daemons not managed by Ceph Admin. Okay. 8 straight hosts not managed by Ceph Admin. So it actually tells us that the host here and all the different services that we have are not managed by Ceph Admin yet. So that's what we want to fix now. So let's switch over here. And first off, we need to create a key so all the different services can talk to each other. So we will generate a new key here with the Ceph Admin. Hopefully this will not take that long. So this is a new SSH key. So the Ceph Admin can actually connect to each host and do the changes that is required in order to update things. One thing I wonder about here is this inventory and services that doesn't really say anything because the orchestrator is not available. I wonder if that will change when we actually add the host to the new system here. So that's going to be interesting and see what differences in the GUI that we get. The key generation took a long time here. Let's see if it actually completes any time. So perhaps it was something that actually closed up there that didn't work properly. So yeah, if you have that problem with the key generation, then perhaps you need to restart some services or something like that. I don't know why it locked up. But let's get the public key to this search pub. So let's cat that and see what we got. So this should be the SSH public key for the cluster. And then I want to copy that over to each host. So in this case, I have a monitor 1. And we need the root password for that. And the root password does not work for these kind of hosts because you are not allowed to log in as root. So I need to copy this file over to each machine as the root user. So let's do like this. Can't do that because I'm not root. Okay. So let's do like this. We copy this one. We SSH over to monitor. Sudo vi root SSH. So there is no root. So let's see if there is an SSH. So there isn't a directory there. So that might be our problem. Let's see here. We copy this one. We SSH over. There we go. So now we have authorized keys for root there. And I will continue to do this for each and every one of these hosts. So there we go. Now I have manually copied over all these config files to the right directory, so they are authorized SSH key on all the hosts that I use in my cluster. And I might have forgotten some, so cross my fingers that I have done this correctly. So, and what we want to do next is to add things that we want to manage. And when we add things to manage, it will do a check to see that it actually works. And there we had my SSH key again. So we'll copy this over here, and then you can supply host name and IP address depending on if you have a working DNS with the IP addresses. And all the hosts know the IP addresses of the other hosts. So hopefully this will just work with adding the host name. So I will add monitor 1 to orchestration and monitor 2. And hopefully that will change things up. If we do Ceph orchestration PS, it should show that we have two hosts that are currently managed by the system. And well, I only see one at the moment. Monitor 1 is running. Why don't I see monitor 2? Because I just added that one. Let's see here. We have 8 stray daemons and 6 stray hosts. So that seems to work. Let's look at the inventory. We don't have any data on that. Services, we see that we have 2 services that are unmanaged placement on those, but they are running 2 different hosts here. So we can see it correctly in the GUI at least. So that's interesting that they are working on that. So let's adopt a few other hosts then. Let's switch over here again. So now they want us to adopt the OSDs. So let's see here, adopt all the OSDs in the cluster. So I wonder if I can add all the hosts directly. So let's see here. I've added 2 of the hosts. Let's see if I add OSD1, what does it say then? Let's see here. We have a cluster with an inventory. We have services and hosts. So here we see that we have 6 stray hosts and 6 daemons not managed by. So that doesn't seem to work. Let's visit the OSD1 and try to adopt this one. Let's see, this should be OSD 0. Sudo. Let's see if that works. If I can type the password correctly. So it's pulling down the container and adds that one. So now if I go back to the GUI here, we have 1 OSD down, 1 OSD up, 5 stray hosts, and 5 daemons not managed by the Seth admin. So now we have an inventory of 1 OSD, and the services here, it's just those 2 still. So let's go over to 2 here. Let's adopt that one. I wonder if the adoption process is... It seems like I should add the host first. So let's add all the hosts here, because that seems like the thing to do here. There's 2, 3, and Grafana. So then we should have added all the hosts, and I will adopt the other OSDs now. An important part to remember now that you are going over to using Ceph Admin is that all the OSDs must use the new Blue Store, or else this will not work. So that is an important point to remember, that if you are using a really old version, I think before the Luminous release or something like that, you might have a really old object store type, and then this conversion will not work. So check that you have the new blue store, and it should be fine for you. There we have done that. Then we want to do the Ceph or apply MDS Ceph FS. So we want to add MDS daemons to the Ceph FS file system. Schedule MDS Ceph FS update. Okay. So I wonder if that will change. Okay. So we got a service called MDF Ceph FS here. So that's weird. And then we should look if we have multiple file system. I only have one, and this is the Ceph FS. And then it says that I can do apply MDS Ceph FS 2, for instance. So that should apply to metadata services. And we see here that we have one active and one standby. And it goes up to 3 later on. So let's see here, services, Ceph FS. So it actually put that on the monitors. So that's interesting, that it actually just takes hosts in the system and applies some daemons to them. Okay. So that's one way. Let's say 0. Okay, let's say 1. But I wonder if I go in here and SSH to the MDS server and do legacy adopt for that on that, if that helps us. So sudo ceph admin adopt style legacy name MDS perhaps MDS1. So system ctl status MDS what Ceph MDS, just called MDS at MDS. So let's see, name MDS, see if I can just adopt it with that name. So there, I adopted that service. Let's go here and do the same for this one, 2. And 3. So now I've adopted the old MDS services. What happens here then? I still have 3. So let's see if I say that I want 3. Will this change to use the MDS services that we had earlier? No. But these daemons we have here, yeah, one of them got incorporated here at least. So that's interesting. But I can't really say which services should have the MDSs. Interesting. Very interesting. So I should be able to now remove these services here. So let's go into the MDS and stop the MDSs and also remove everything that has to do with the MDSs here, like that. Do the same for the next. Apply RGB. Missing required parameter realm name. What did I call that? Object gateway. Did I have any buckets here or anything like that? Perhaps I didn't install that service. Yeah, so we will skip that one, and not to make this video 100 hours long. And let's do the health detail. I think we are healthy now. So that was the transformation that we needed to do in order to get this cluster to the new version. And I can say right off the bat that this is not something that I like to do with a production cluster, where we have specific services that need to run the metadata services, because we have memory limitations in our cluster, and some of the servers are very much more capable to run memory heavy services than others. Perhaps I will find a way to specify which services or servers I want the metadata service to run on, but this is not really acceptable to have a cluster where you don't specify where to put the MDSs. That's not a good solution in my view. But let's continue here, because the next part that I want to do is actually trying to upgrade this cluster automatically. So first off, we can run this Ceph, so we get the status, we are healthy, everything is fine, we have a running system, we should be able to connect to it and so on. But what you should be able to do now is actually say that I want to do a Ceph orchestration upgrade start to Ceph version. And here I want to put 16.2.0, because that is the new Pacific release. So this is going to be interesting if I can do this just by starting that, initiating the upgrade. Then you should be able to run Ceph orchestrate upgrade status, and it says that it's in progress, services complete, none of them. I wonder what the GUI here says. Not much actually. Services, hosts. So most of the hosts here have that version 15.02. These two doesn't really say anything about what version they have, because they don't have any services running on them. which is a little bit annoying when you have hosts like that. So let's go back here, run, still nothing complete. So I wonder if there is a way to get a better visualization of the upgrade process, because it doesn't really feel right to just have something happening in the background without you having any view into the process, or any issues might occur here. At least you have the inventory and a good view in the GUI here for those kind of things. But I would like to get more information here about the upgrade status. I can actually do a Ceph S. That should give me an upgrade progress. Okay, that's interesting. You can also watch the Ceph Admin Log with Ceph Watch Ceph Admin. Okay. That didn't really say anything more. So it's still working. We got a lot of issues here that got resolved later on here. And we also got decreasing pool of pages. So that's also interesting that it does some updates to the cluster that way. And here we see that one daemon out of 10 is upgraded. Okay, so that's one of the images on host 2. So we don't see it here. Let's see by services perhaps. No, not the monitors. One of the managers has been updated. Okay, and that was the manager that I was viewing. So that's why it actually jumped in and got a lot of errors like that. Yeah, so now it's pulling the image on host 2. This doesn't say much. Okay, updating manager image 2, unable to upgrade caps for manager 2, deploying daemon mon2 on mon2. So that was the manager 1 that told us that. So that perhaps means that it takes one of these services and uses as a deployment thing in order to do that. Failing over to the other manager. Need to upgrade myself, manager mon1. Okay. So here we see that one of them is actually down. Perhaps I can join the other one. No. So the manager is actually down at the moment. No active manager instance is currently running the dashboard. Failover may be in progress. We're trying in 5 seconds. Okay. So there we go. The new manager is up and running, and it's a little bit visual changes here. The pools and pages has been moved around a bit, and we don't have any changes in hosts. So let's see here. Both the managers are now updated. So that's an interesting thing that it starts with the managers, because when you are upgrading using the manual process, it starts to update the monitors first, because the visual things are not that important. It's more important to get a quorum with the new monitors. They actually can start handling workloads. So this is interesting. Let's see, upgrade status. Currently upgrading manager daemons. Yeah. And thought I saw that. Oh, let's see. We have some dashes here. So we actually have a progress. Setting up a container image for all manager. It's not safe to stop Mon 1 at this time, and not enough monitors would be available. Mon 2 after stopping Mon 1. Okay, that's interesting. So I wonder if it has stopped one of the monitors. No, it has not. So still nothing there. Monitoring services, monitor. None of them are updated yet. So I hope that it doesn't lock up, because it thinks that one monitor is too few to have running at a time. So do I need to have 3 monitors in order for this process to actually work? This is interesting. I actually found a command here. So let's see, we go back here and stop the upgrade. Or perhaps you can keep the upgrade, but no, I want to stop it. Let's see. Go back to the upgrading, Ceph upgrade stop. So we stop the upgrade. So now the status should be not upgrading and healthy. And what I figured out here is that you can actually do this Ceph orchestrate apply MDS on the host MDS, MDS2, MDS3. If I understood this correctly. Ceph orch apply. That did not work. Service, okay. So, but on the other hand, when it comes to monitors, we can actually apply this and say that I want an extra monitor on the machine MDS. Does that mean that I get an extra monitor here? Let's see, we can do Mon 1, Mon 2, MDS, MDS2, MDS3. Let's do it like that. And see if it can handle this. Yeah. So now it started a couple of more monitors, because the problem we had was that there were not enough monitors to do the actual update, and that's no good. So, but I still can't find a way to actually tell it which MDSs to add, which is a little bit sad. So let's see if we can restart the update here. Upgrade. So there we have that. Let's continue watching this and see what happens. And we are back. It's now the day after, and we have done the actual upgrade now. It's done with the upgrade, and there are some things that I need to mention about the upgrade process. First off, I waited all over the evening, night, in order to get this upgrade done. It wasn't done this morning, and that's because it's a very cautious upgrade. It waits until the cluster is healthy before it actually does the upgrade. And my cluster was not healthy because some of the services was slow. I restarted that service, it became healthy, and then it started the upgrade process. So if we switch over here, we can see that up here it was not healthy. I restarted some services, and then the upgrade appeared to be safe, and it upgraded the next monitor in the system. And after it did that, it went through and reconfigured all the different services for the new monitor map, and then said that the monitor and crash service is now running in a container environment. It then upgraded the OSDs and said that that is running in a container environment. It said that the required OSD release is now 16 Pacific, and that's because you can't really go back to a 15 after you have upgraded to the Pacific version. And then it started to wait for the MSDs to scale down to 1. And it didn't do that, so I wondered why that is. And I figured out that it actually was because I had a standby daemon. So I had one daemon here that actually follows the active daemon so it can fail over fast. And I was required to go in manually and set that I don't allow standby replay. And then it started up again and said, okay, it's safe to upgrade the MSDs. It upgraded each one of the MSDs, upgraded the RGVs, and then set container image for everything and said that, okay, everything is now done. I have upgraded your system to a new version. So it worked, and it is, I think, for a really large cluster, perhaps a good way to do this. In my mind, I don't think this is feasible for our setup. First off, we don't have a healthy cluster because we have a bug that makes the cache of the MDS too large on the standby daemon, so it will never be healthy, which means that we can't do the upgrade this way because it will not be in a healthy state, and therefore it will not allow to do the actual upgrade. And another thing is that it changed it up to use Docker containers, and that's an extra layer. That means more overhead. Not really keen on that solution. Perhaps it's really good because they have Docker containers. That means that they have environments that are similar throughout the cluster, which could be a good thing. So in the future, perhaps that could be something to look into. So we might switch over to this. And as I said, in a large cluster where you have very many computers, then it's good that you can manage them and say, I want this many things of this and this many things of this. And perhaps even say that I don't really care where you put things. I just want you to spread out some MSDs, and I want you to set up some monitors around my cluster, and it fixes that for you. That could be a good thing if you have a homogeneous environment, but in our case we really need to pinpoint where things need to be. And I realized that I can actually go in and say, for instance, Ceph, orchestrate, apply, and then if I want the monitors, and I can say that I want the monitors to be on Mon1, Mon2, so that says where the monitors should be. I can say that or how many I want. And when it comes to the RGVs, which had an ID, then you can say that as well, monitor 1, monitor 2, and that will switch them up that way. So you can actually say where things should end up in when you are done, which makes it a little bit better in my mind. Yeah, so that's my review of doing it the automatic way. As this is not a way we want to do it in our environment, I will look into the manual way to upgrade the cluster as well. But this was what I wanted to cover today, an automatic upgrade of the Ceph cluster using Ceph Admin. I hope that you found this interesting. I hope that you learned something today. If you have any questions, suggestions, leave a comment in the comment section down below. If you like this video, give it a like, share it with your friends and colleagues. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. And I really hope to see you in the next video.